Absolutely. Go ahead.
So I'm homeschooling my 6-year-old. She's about to be 7 this year.
Mhm.
And my 4-year-old has been going to preschool. He's 4.5 now. And he's going to be home with us a little bit more longer because of the pandemic and shutdowns. So I'm just looking for some advice on helping him to be successful with us. So my daughter's
Sure.
getting very academic. She's reading, she's doing lots of math. She really, likes to sit and do things with, paper, pencil, art. And my son is like the total opposite. He wants to
Sure.
jump and run and climb, and he's
So
very sensory.
how are you meeting those needs within him right now?
We have a lot of outdoor time. We have our first house that we just bought, so we do spend
Hmm.
a lot of time outdoors, a lot of
Good.
physical play. We do a lot of sensory activities, Play-Doh, kinetic sand, lots
Are
of
you guys going on a
cooking.
daily walk? Are you going on a walk every morning?
Not every day, no. That would help.
I would really incorporate that in there. As a mother of 3 sons, my gosh, I pray for you. Just teasing. Whenever I had, you get Christmas cards from people and everything, and I got a Christmas card from this lovely family who I've known since they had no children, and now that she has 4 little boys, and I was like, oh, I pray for you. I know what your life is like. It's full of
Yes,
a lot of pee and poop, and yes,
yeah, he's extremely
craziness.
strong-minded. I do
I
everything
love my
myself.
sons, and I love that energy, but
Yes,
goodness, you have to keep up with it. So
it's
I would
hard.
start every day, and some girls are like that too. Like my youngest was definitely like that. I would say you want to start your day with a walk, like,
Okay.
and it's got to happen. So you've got to have your morning rhythm has to be in a good place
Yeah.
so that then you can meet them.
Okay.
So, for me, that means I get up at 5. Our day can start at 8 because my kids are a bit older. But if yours are getting up earlier, then you've got to adjust your meditation and exercise time so that it happens before they're up.
Early. Okay.
Yeah. And that way, I mean, unless you're exercising later in the day but you want to be able to have that time that's just you so that you get to be Jamie by yourself and nobody's touching you and nobody's talking to you, and you can then greet the day with a smile,
Yeah.
and you can be ready for them, especially when you have busy children. I mean, I think it's so important anyway, but when you've got busy kids, you cannot underestimate that piece of self-care that you really need. So definitely get up before them, do those pieces in the morning, and then greet him when he's ready for the day, and eat, go on a walk,
Okay.
like in quick succession. Sometimes we go on a walk before we eat, which it depends on where, how the energy is in your home. If people wake up ravenous, of course you can't do that. But if you can, then go on a walk first and then
Okay.
come back and eat. Or eat and then go on a quick walk. Then what it does is it sort of, I like this place of pliable exhaustion. They're too tired to fight you, but not too tired to, like, you're not melting down, falling apart tired. So they're not so bouncy.
Right.
And when they're not in that so bouncy place, then you can do things with him while your daughter does some things on her own, and you can invite him in some ways and not have it be like that energy that takes over everything.
Right.
So and then with keeping him in a good place so that you're not pushing him ahead, because when is he 5?
Not till the end of June.
Okay. So you've got another 6 months of preschool essentially before you're starting kinder. So I would look at, we have in the resources section, like plans for the 4-year-old,
Oh,
and
okay.
they're just simple plans. They're based on picture books
Yeah.
and, topics and themes. And so you could plan your circle to meet them both, but then have story time that's just for him. I don't know if your local library is doing a drop off, like pickup. I
Yeah.
know most libraries are closed, but I would go and make your library list and make that part of your weekly rhythm. Go pick up books, and then that's what you're using in his school for that week. So that way you feel like you're meeting him And his doesn't need to be anything major, story time with you, circle time together as a family. Maybe he's drawing while you're doing work with your older child. That way he doesn't feel like he's left by himself, but you're still getting all of those elements in. But really and truly getting that piece of wearing him out a little bit will help you so much in the school day. I mean, that's usually when people feel like they're pulling their hair out, it's usually because there has not been enough movement. And tossing them out in the yard is not enough.
No,
they have to have some major, like, moving their body.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are in a brand new situation. We have a almost 10-year-old and a 7-year-old that we've homeschooled from the beginning. And we are expecting a baby in February. So
fun stuff.
So my husband is here. He's gonna take over soon. And, we're just trying to figure out how to have a successful second semester.
Sure. I totally understand. I think that a couple of things come to mind. First, allow yourself to baby moon with your baby and enjoy yourself and enjoy that family space, and don't be super stressed about getting everything done. How fast do you recover from birth?
Well, it's been 8 years since my last birth. So
listen, I get that too. I understand. I recover, like, when people ask me that question, I was like, well, I recovered a lot quicker from Harry and Jacob than I did from Sam and Sarai.
Yeah. My last birth was pretty smooth. So, but that was a long time ago. So, well, I have no idea.
Thankfully, your body knows what to do. Your body knows what to do. And you have a lot of hands on deck. So even though you've got other children, you're going to have plenty of rest time. The reason why I ask that is I think, yes, it's important to, like, let's empower dad to be in that space. But I also think it's really important as a family to enjoy your new baby and to take, 4 weeks if you need to, where everybody's just reading and you're just, sort of breathing out together. Like, you created a human, so you should allow yourself to just enjoy that space and allow your children to bond with their new sibling and not feel like it has to be regimented school every day. So I would give yourself whatever feels comfortable, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, to just be in that space. And in that time, plan for your older children to be either reading or read to, so that they feel like they're doing something in it. Because what happens when we plan nothing is it gets all kinds of crazy really fast. Make sure your meals are planned. I think having your meals planned and your rhythm down is more important than school right now. So, dad, I would get the kids up and, get them on a walk every morning so that they're getting that done first thing. Even if you live in, like, when I lived in Southeast Idaho and it was 30 degrees below zero for a month, we still walked. Because you have to get that out of them. They have to move their bodies. So if you can be in a good rhythm so that you're going on a walk every day, so that the kids know what to expect, because when they know what to expect, there's less fighting, there's less, dissension in the ranks. So if they know that they're going to get up and have breakfast and go for a walk and then come back and they're going to read for an hour, then they know that's what's going to happen. So you want to sort of lay that foundation so that they understand that piece. And then with regards to planning lessons, you may have to go a little bit longer. Maybe you're still doing school at the end of June because you're taking 4 weeks, or not. Maybe have you done, so you've got a 10-year-old or almost 10-year-old, right? So you're doing 4th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So what lesson blocks do you have left?
So I think we have our second Norse mythology block. We've got I think state geography. We did an incredibly localized geography, which was awesome first semester. But yeah, so we have one more geography block.
Maybe a Native American block. with your local geography block? That's usually when I do it. I usually do it in there.
And I think we kind of covered that in our first one, because
Okay.
we live really close to a reservation. So
Oh, very cool.
and then we've got more math. We've got fractions left. So we've
Okay.
done our intro. It's just now it's like really digging in. But
Absolutely. So, those are things that you could have dad do. Dad, you could go through, making sure you do a math review every day. So maybe your child is reading for an hour and you're doing some math review in there just to keep those things fresh. So then when you dive back into that math block, it comes easily. I also would consider, where you have one more Norse block, I would consider having your child read those stories and journal about them and not do main lessons on them. Then you won't have to go into June. You could take that second block and really just play with it, because it's a literature block, so you can, hand that over to having your child read more than doing main lessons on everything.
Okay, that's
and
great.
that'll help shorten things up. Is that helpful? How are you feeling about things, Dad?
Well,
are you like, oh crap, what have I gotten myself into? Or
there's a little bit of that for sure. I mean, it's kind of magical what she does with the kids, and I'm excited to dabble my feet in that. I think the scary thing is I think I might like it too much and not want to go back to work. So
that's all right. That's all right. Eric teaches half the time. He likes that space too. He loves, once Eric started teaching, he's like, yeah, this is good. I'll do this as many days as you need me to. So that's good. Maybe you've got a new calling. Maybe you'll figure out how to be an entrepreneur and work from home, and then you won't have to worry about leaving them every day.
That'd be great.
That would be nice.
Wouldn't that be fun? Well, I'm going to invite you, because you guys are members, right? So I'm going to invite you to come to office hours as often as you need to. And, they happen every Friday, twice a month early, twice a month late. So that way, if you need support during that time, and Lauren will make sure you know what the times are. So that way, if you need support, feel free to come to office hours and ask for help, because that's what we're here for.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
But I really think you're going to do great.
The question is, I'm really struggling with circles still. I'm struggling in the sense that I've been doing 2 separate circles for the boys, and our day is just going way too long, and it's just driving me up.
Why don't you just drop the circle bit and do a gathering?
Well, that's what it is, like our gathering. Yeah. So
put together.
I was doing a gathering for Jude and a gathering for Sam, with each having their own specific things in each one. It's
That's
just killing me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my thing, isn't it? A lot.
I know. But what I also love about you is when you figure out something doesn't work, you stop doing it. So
yeah. So I'm gonna bring circle to, because like Sam's doing his flute, he's doing his knitting, so he'd like go away and do chores while Jude was doing his circle, and come and join us for music and knitting. And these boys, I tell you, they'll knit for an hour if I let them. Of course,
don't let them. That's 15 minutes.
I know, it's just like so I think I'm just going to do a circle together. I'm going to do one song, one seasonal verse, like really cutting it back. Seasonal verse, one song, which we based around, because I got Sam a flute teacher and she's doing singing with him too. So I'm just going to use her song. And then counting with Jude, which is going to be skip counting because he's about to start quality of numbers. And then maybe I'll start Jude on knitting, and then just do a quick times table review with Sam.
Here's what I found. In doing all of those things with everybody together, the younger kids get times tables quicker. And they don't have to actually say anything when the beanbag's tossed to them. And it's more fun when there's 3 people.
Okay, so include Jude with it then.
I would.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, because Sam made a knitting ball. Yeah, and so we throw that like a throwing ball.
Oh, that's great.
A throwing ball. So we throw that back and forth. So I've sorted out his knitting now, all the mistakes that were happening. And so maybe we just toss it to Jude as well. and maybe
would.
mouth him the answer or something.
You can, or you can say the answer for him when it comes to him.
Yeah, because I was going to do skip counting, or we've been doing skip counting, like we go like 2, 4, like saying it quietly. So, and then this Sam's whittling our rhythm sticks at the moment. So we're going to whittle some rhythm sticks, so we can do that maybe with Jude. Instead of Sam actually saying the times tables, maybe we'll just do the rhythm sticks.
Sure.
And that way Jude can.
I think it'll be more fun with with both of them together, the 3 of you together, and I think it will help that sibling rivalry piece that you're struggling with as well.
Yeah. So that's, but yeah, Sam's been great, improved on that this week.
Good.
So ever since he's got a whittling knife, he can just hide and whittle. Just goes and hides away and whittles.
Good.
I was a bit concerned, but I bought him a crossbow for Christmas. So I was like, don't point it at your brother.
Don't point it at your brother.
Wooden one. Ever. And so another question I have, is form drawing. So I filled Sam's gaps with his form drawing. Now I'm wondering where to pick him up, basically.
Well, I would pick him up to wherever, because he's in 4th grade, right? So no, sorry.
5th. He's
5th grade. So you're going to be moving into geometry soon.
Well, yeah, so I'm not going to start geometry till next January. So he's still got quite a bit of fractions gaps to fill. We've still got ancient mythologies, and stuff like that, and geography.
So I would look back over his form drawing and pick some that he struggled with and work those back in. And really just sort of keep some of those going. Go over the forms in in the form drawing lesson and make sure that you've got them all, and then add more in. I mean, you can. I like that Painting and Drawing a Waldorf Schools book has some fun ideas for forms.
Yeah, I've got Angela
Don't
Lord's,
go overboard.
and I've
that's a good book too.
Just been looking at it, and it's a great book, and it's not got bucket loads in it, which is good. You don't feel overwhelmed,
right?
So yeah, but do we keep doing forms through 5th and 6th?
I sort of
takes over.
Yeah, I start to slow that down unless I find something fantastic from a culture that we are studying, that we want to reproduce, which that happens, especially when you're studying Islam and old Roman things, and there's some really neat forms there. But otherwise, you're not doing it as regularly because geometry sort of takes over.
Yeah. And just another thing with Jude, we've done all the letters, which is great, and the vowels and stuff. And so I did a little experiment. I put together, I think it was pet, and he's like, and he was like prince, elephant, and table. And I'm like, what word does that make? He's like, apple.
Oh, let's start again.
Oh yeah,
those out. That's okay. That's okay. Everybody starts.
So I'm not gonna start the reading thing yet. I'm just gonna. Yeah, I don't know.
Continue to reinforce what he knows, but I would start to put some sight words together. Do you have the 6 books, the 6 little books from? Yeah. So start with those. Sam Cat, Nat Rat.
Just reading them to him.
No, you start with him 1 page a day.
Okay.
Just get started. And if you haven't done the lesson on reading, writing, and spelling, go do that.
I have done that several times, that lesson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's just like he just doesn't seem to get joining them all together. He gets all the sounds.
Takes time.
He knows the sounds. He even knows.
And I don't know if this is it's like Captain Obvious, but when Soraya said it, I was like, okay. She said, so the sounds make words, and the words make sentences, and they make paragraphs. And I was like, yes. So we had this whole discussion about how it all works. And so again, it's like duh, but it's stuff that we take for granted. So some children just pick it up really fast and they work it all out. And other children, need you to say it, and other children just need to work that out like verbally themselves. So maybe if you just said it to him, you realize, right, like all of these sounds come together to make a word, and let's just practice with this word: pet, 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 and just keep doing that. Keep doing that, and then bring in all those short vowel sounds in the Sam, cat, nat, rat, bug. But do not read them to him. Make him figure out what happens, because there's this point in the book where the kids are like, oh crap, the cat's gonna eat the rat. Like all my kids have been like, what's happening here? Why are you making me read this book? And then of course that doesn't happen. But
because he picked up something the other day and he goes, oh, I think it's amazing. I know all of these letters. So now I need to transfer that amazement to joining them.
I would like to do a mid-year review for my ex-husband, who's very skeptical about homeschooling and coming from a history public school. Only he is used to typical report card. I want to satisfy the norm, but also assess our child properly and honor where she's at. She also has 3 major learning discrepancies: dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. And I want to be able to approach that properly. I do not know where to start. Okay. What I would say for anybody in an X situation: hop on over to Blogspot or Blogger and get yourself a free blog. And then you go into the back end settings and you make your ex-partner the only person, and maybe your lawyer, the only people that can log in and see what's going on that blog. I put all of my main lessons up there. And I love it because there's an app. You can do it from your phone. Put all my main lessons up there. At the end of the week, I would say, this is what we did this week. These were the struggles we had. These are the great things that happened. Boom. And it's up there. I did that for a couple of reasons. One, my ex-husband was like, she never tells me what they're doing in school. So I did. And then the judge was like, well, she provided it to you and it looks like you only logged in 2 times. Because what's great is it tells you how many times the other person logs in to look at the stuff. So if you've only got 1 or 2 other people logging in to look at it, then you have an accurate count of when that other parent is looking. So I would do that in anytime you've got an X situation or anybody that you have to report to like that. So that was my report card. And at the end of every lesson block, I would write up this is how we did for this lesson block. These were the challenges. This is what we're still working through, that sort of thing. So I am just putting that out there for anybody else who needs that information. Again, it's Blogger. It's a free blog. It's not anything, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Mine never was. It was just a simple, quick, like, this is what we did. And I uploaded pictures from my phone. I never even formatted them all. I just uploaded them so that he could see what we had done. And then I wrote out where they each were. That was a really easy way for me to sort of meet that need, because, at the end of the day, they are their other parent and they have every right to know what's going on with them academically. Now, if it's been a fight, then you definitely want to stand for you having all educational decision-making, which is a thing. It's a thing when you go through a divorce. Often one parent gets medical, one parent gets educational. If you're really lucky, you'll get both. Depends on who your lawyer is and how hard you fight for it. But, it was a situation I really had to fight in order to have. So you want to do the best you can to provide the reports or the information to your ex-partner in as non-adversarial way as possible. And I found the blog was great because then I didn't actually have to talk to him. I could just, like, every time a blog post went up, it emailed it to him so he could see it. So I didn't actually have to speak to him and get angry about him and his ornery self. So anybody else who's listening that has that challenge, that's my major suggestion. I also would do this mid-year evaluation, scan it and send it to them. Having issues with your son not participating or following instructions in circle time and activities. Right. Is he engaged in circle time?
No,
at all?
Just like he plops himself on the couch like, I'm bored kind of thing, or he goes and does something else. I mean, so my daughter, who's almost 5, participates. Actually, she participates better than he does in everything I plan, which is good in a way, because otherwise I would be even more frustrated that nobody's listening to anything I'm doing. But I'm like, well, that's not really the point. You're not even supposed to be in circle time, kind of thing.
Right.
But anyway, I do everything I can to include movement, finger play. He doesn't do any of that. I know with him, things happen at different levels, it feels like. So he won't participate in circle time, or I have to threaten that I'm going to put him in public school or something. Then I get really angry.
I understand.
Like,
I've been there.
that's
Like
awful.
I have driven to the building and they're like, oh crap, she's really going to do it this time.
I know.
I've totally been there.
It's terrible.
Not for
I
a
feel
while,
awful.
but I've totally been there. I can remember the day my kids are like, oh, that was a bad day. Yes, it was.
Yeah. So, anyway, on the other hand,
So here's my question. Here's my question really quick, Helen. When you're planning your circle, do you sit down and meditate on what Paul needs?
No.
Start there.
Not really. I mean, not really.
Start
that
there
way.
because you're asking him to just follow you, but you've got to sit and ask, what does Paul need right now? Maybe he needs something else in circle time. And there's so many ways to reach him. Have you done the lesson on circle time creation?
I have off and on. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm familiar
We
with
talk
it.
about that a little bit in there, like, how to really assess who's in front of you. Like what would light Paul's fire?
Yeah.
What would light his fire? What would make him super excited to be in circle?
What if I don't find the answer to that? Because it's about singing and dancing, and even though
those are things that he doesn't love. He doesn't love, right? Like is he phlegmatic?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. When you said he just plops down, that's what made me think of that.
Yeah.
My phlegmatics are not great singers. I mean, they'll sing,
but he does sing.
But it has to be on their own. It has to be on their own accord, because otherwise it's like pulling a donkey up a hill. It's not any fun.
Because he will learn those songs, because then during quiet time he'll sing to himself, and I'm like, so it registers,
right?
But he doesn't engage, and so then I'm depressed because I'm like, all this work that I'm putting into learning all these songs and putting it together so that it's seasonal, blah blah blah, all this stuff.
So I would cut it back. I would include maybe one seasonal song, one call to circle song. I would consider his temperament in everything you're doing in that circle. So if there are songs about food, include them. If there are songs about being comfortable, include
food. Them. He's not into food. I know you mentioned that a lot about phlegmatics. He's
not all phlegmatics are about food.
Not interested.
Okay, so what lights his fire?
Construction sites.
Okay. All right. So
trucks, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Sure. So I would include songs in there then that can enliven that piece. And maybe your stories have more to do with finding ways to pull that in. Like, how many times Super Sam found himself a dumpster or a trash truck, like when I was just telling stories to Sam. And that was because what happens when the trash truck rolls down your street? Y'all, does this happen in your house? Every male child in my house and my husband go and look out the window. The girls could care less in general, but all the boys got to go see what the trash truck is doing. So that's this inherent need.
Oh yeah.
And Soraya is a whole different animal. Hers is all about hers has been about dinosaurs, and so she's very different from even my boys. But it's interesting to me, the mechanical nature of most boys. And I'm going to get hate mail about it. I can't believe, here's the deal. I have observed thousands of children. I understand thousands of children. And it's just yes, a generalization, but it's very interesting to me to watch. So, sometimes you'll have, like, my girls would go and stand at the window and be like, oh yeah, that's really cool. And then they go off and do something else. But there's something there. So dive into what it is. There's something about it being mechanical, and that he can, tinker with it, and that it, when you do this, then this happens. There's definitely those relationships that he's trying to work out in his mind, because if he is phlegmatic, he's a deeper thinker. He's thinking about how things work
Yeah,
in a much
sure.
different way. So
but how do I pull that into circle time where you're supposed to be really, it's all about verses and songs? I mean, I
sure,
just
but
recite?
it doesn't have to always be, I think it's really easy as homeschoolers to get hung up on, oh, well, this is what it would be in this beautifully flowy kindergarten with 30 kids. And in those situations, all those kids bounce off each other. So then all of the temperaments tend to harmonize. But when you have one child in front of you, you really have to focus on what that one child needs. So like in our case, when Soraya was that age, we sang the Wheels on the Bus. And I remember a Waldorf teacher wrote me, she's not a very kind Waldorf teacher, somebody that had seen something that I wrote on social media and said, I can't believe you're using that song. And I said, excuse me, I shouldn't use a song that applies to how we get around because we didn't have a car at the time, how we get around the city every day. It was part of her life. And so it applied. So find things that you're going to have to get maybe a little, deeper on some things. Surely there's songs about cars or trucks, or you can take some of the songs, and pull some things in.
And should I just like pare it down to like just three songs, 4 songs?
Yeah, I would not do a lot. And it's going to change as he gets a bit older. As you're
he's
adding
already 6 and a
other things
half. I'm like, I'm worried
Right?
about first grade and how, that's going to translate.
I
That's my
wouldn't, because
fear.
in first grade, you're going to be doing other things. In first grade, you're going to be doing other things. Yes, you're going to have your circle, your gathering, but you're also going to be bringing your daughter in at that point. So she'll be part of the circle. And then in part of the circle, I bring in our music lesson. And then in part of the circle or that gathering time, I'll bring in our handwork. So we're sort of doing it. It expands. It's not just this piece. Does that make sense?
Too ambitious. Okay, so I'm basically right now I'm crafting a circle time for my daughter pretty much, because I know she will love it. It's already done basically in 2 years.
Sure. So,
but I should focus. Yeah,
absolutely. But if he's your focus right now, you definitely want to have a few songs to keep her going. But he's your main focus.
And for activities, this is interesting what you're saying is I feel like I have all these ambitions. Well, I'm always like striving and looking at the curriculum thinking that's what I need to do. And if my kid doesn't do it, then I'm, I feel like
you're a failure.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
So like for activities, he is doing better. Okay. So, I mean, there is progress, but he also still has a lot of issues following directions and also just being into it, like painting. He does do better with watercolor, but like at the end he has to like empty the paint onto the paper and scribble with the wooden tip and all that stuff. And I know like that's a no in Waldorf, and you can't do that because
not only do you not want to do that, you want to be in a space of respect. So there's, I have some like, that's not allowed to happen. Everybody needs your non-negotiables. So if that's a non-negotiable, then this is a conversation I would have. Paul, you like to paint? Guess what? We're not doing that. Or I'm going to put the paints up for a month and we'll do other things.
I'm not sure he would really be unhappy about that. I mean, he doesn't like actively seek painting, or like if we do Play-Doh, he wants to go and get the cheese grater and grate the Play-Doh and, do all these crazy things that are not like how you typically play. He never typically does something, it always has to be different.
The funny thing about the cheese grater, no, that's okay. You got to embrace it. So the cheese grater thing, that's like, did you, and I know you did not grow up in America. So there's this, did y'all remember Play-Doh? like the Play-Doh factory and the Play-Doh, and you could go and buy the factory pieces and use your own Play-Doh. And there was like a cheese grater, and then there was like a make a hair, like where you make hair for somebody, like all of those things.
Yeah.
Kids love that action of
Okay.
seeing what happens. Just because you wouldn't find it in a Waldorf kindergarten doesn't mean you should not be okay with what your son wants to do. You're like, give him a knife, let him grade it up. Like he wants to see what happens when he grades the Play-Doh. Allow it. Allow it.
But then why should I allow that and not allow him to empty the watercolor onto the page and just kind of scribble and all that,
Because
that's where I'm like,
if you're emptying the watercolor, that's like not, one, it's not good for your paintbrush. And two, it's making this gigantic mess in another way. So if he is asking for sensory type, play here, there are other ways to meet that. If he wants to, does he, when he pours the watercolor on the paper, does he put his hands in it?
No,
he just wants to see the action of it. So find another way for him to have that action in a safe environment without paint.
Yeah, I've done that. I've had him do that outside, actually. Thinking, I was just like, okay, I'll give you paint. You can pour, do whatever you want.
Or
outside.
take the paint water or something like that, and allow him the space to have that action without it being, without it being part, like ruining what it is that you're doing. So, but make it clear delineation. We're having lesson time with painting, and then when we're done, I'll let you pour the paint water out on a piece of paper outside if that's really what you want to do. Find ways to meet that sensory need. Some kids have like the need to see it finished, and maybe in his mind that's this finishing piece. That's what we do to end it. You could sit and really work to decode what that is, but I like to find ways when possible to meet that sensory need. And if it's a non-negotiable, then it's just a non-negotiable. It's a no, and they'll learn.
So when you said to meditate on the child when planning for circle time, should I do the same thing when looking at activities? Like for instance,
absolutely.
I've tried to do modeling, this, that, and the other. I try to do it on a weekly rhythm, but should I really just kind of be like, okay, well, this is the ideal, and maybe this is what I'll do with my daughter, but then with my son, I need to look at other things, or what's
so you're wanting to meditate to see what it is that he needs right now. And that's going to be a set of answers. The pieces of Waldorf that start in grade 1, they're all built to build the will. So even if I have answers that are outside of what, painting, modeling, or drawing, I will do those things, but we will still do painting, modeling, drawing, knitting, and all of the will building pieces, because those specifically build the will. So it becomes a marrying of each child and what it is that they need right now, like whether it be a sensory experience or a movement experience, like whatever it is that they need to be met right there. But that doesn't mean we don't do those will building things. We still do the will building.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So I need to find different times for that.
Well, what I would say is, once you've done the meditation on him and you spend some time really thinking about what he needs, you might find that you can do that with these other things that you've got going. It's just about changing some things around.
And his attention span is so, in some areas it's so long, and in some it's just like minuscule, like finger knitting. He'll be like, yeah, and then he'll be like, done.
But he can do it, right?
He can do it. Yeah, he can do it.
So my question is for you, like, do you have things in your life where you're like, yeah, I can phone it in and do it, and things that you really love to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we often, it's easy for us to expect things of them, and then when we reflect, we go, oh yeah, that's right, I do that too. Every human does that. So the idea with knitting and handwork is, I've always said, I don't care if you love it, but I just want to make sure you can do it. And why are you making me do this? This is so hard. No, it's not hard, but we can do hard things. Let's keep going. And it's a skill for life that I'd like for you to have. And we spend so much time in our culture like placating children and having them do only what they want to do, and it breeds imbalance, and we don't want that. We want them to be balanced. So that Waldorf piece, that will building piece, is building up that balance and helping them to balance that out. So it's okay to do things that they don't like, but I also really work on, what does the child in front of me need?
Right.
And
but if
he
it's
needs
something
some,
they don't like, it's okay if it doesn't last like an entire half hour
Yeah.
or something,
Yes,
right? I mean, I don't need to
absolutely.
just like be like, no, you have to continue doing this and
No,
until you finish the whole chain or whatever, you know.
No, I try to set proper expectations with handwork, especially. So for my kids that really resisted handwork, if we could get through a row a day, all the way through with that, and this would be I would say, if we can get all the way through the row and you're not fussing, then you can be done. But you got to get through all the way through the row. And here's the deal. This is where you really talk to them about choice and accountability. You get to choose how much you complain about it, and you get to choose how long it takes. I just gave you the assignment. You get to choose the rest of it. Allow them to see that they have choice and accountability in everything.
Okay.